Mid-month Storytime is back because On the Mic storytelling is one of my homes. If you couldn't tell from the roster of guests we've had on the podcast, over 30 at this point, you know I like to spend time outside of the bubble you probably know me from. The world is a very diverse place, and the fun of it is to experience that diversity and find common interests with a range of people that on the surface you don't think you have anything in common with. From 2008 to 2020, my photography habit connected me with people in several different communities that I really enjoyed. Although I'm not still active in a few of them, I left with friends, fun memories, and of course, great photos. This is the story of how one thing led to another and how I made friends among a lot of different communities. Enjoy!
I gotta admit, I rode my bike here, my kids are in Montessori schools. It's gonna be a long night. So I told people before that I was introduced to Grown Folk Stories at a hip hop event at the NPR Block Party years ago. I was there shooting photos, and I was like, I'll stick around and see what the stories are about. And then you said every third Thursday, I was like, I'm there. I like meeting people and hearing people's stories and just getting a chance to meet people that I wouldn't normally meet on my job. And that's why I come. So some of you follow me on Instagram, because I do a photography feed that I use on my website and everything like that. And I thought maybe I'd explain a little bit of what's going on there tonight, because people ask me, what the hell? I travel a lot. And my wife lets me, she's very patient. So I shoot here at the African American Fest on Labor Day weekend. And back in 06, 07, I would go shoot all the hip hop artists. And after a couple of years, I just emailed them and was like, hey, why don't you give me credentials so I don't have to keep kicking people out of the way during the show and get good photos. They were like, cool. So I started shooting a lot of hip hop shows. And then my wife took the boys out of town every summer for 2 weeks. And that's basically like my playtime. So DJ Qbert was coming to Chicago, and so we go check out Qbert, and there was a b-boy battle. So I was like, I don't know what, I hadn't been to one before, I knew what it was about, but I hadn't been to one. So it was late, so I took a nap, and then got up and went. So I go, and I emailed b-boy check-in, and I was like, hey, I want to come to a shoot, is that cool with you guys? Like, do you mind? Would it mess up your vibe? He's like, no, come on. So I go, and I meet a whole bunch of people, like a whole different community of people that I hadn't met before. I just shoot for the love of the game, right? So I don't need to sell my pictures. I like to capture great photos and then just give them to you, because that's what I do. So they handed out flyers. I went to a bunch more b-boy battles, and it's been great. So I ended up meeting this whole community from all over the Midwest, and I travel a lot. And I literally, my wife she now takes pictures of me talking with people on the street, because we were in Barcelona and Warsaw and in Cape Town. And I meet the street performers, and we have mutual friends, and I was like, what the hell are you guys talking about? I'm like, we all have the same friends, because I shoot in this community. So I started taking those photos and getting into it a lot, and then I realized I like subcultures. So then I start finding graffiti, and I start collecting graffiti galleries from all these spots where I shoot. Like last month, I found a spot in Singapore, and I was like, don't they beat you down for graffiti in Singapore? But apparently not everywhere. And so I just take the photos, honestly, there's no paint, no nothing. So I'm shooting all these photos, and it's going well, and I'm more rappers, and I'm emailing them and catching up and getting, meeting them backstage and everything. And I said, okay, that's cool. So I got all the hip hop stuff. I got graffiti, I got b-boys, I got rappers, MCs. And I say, well, I'm riding home one day, and I see this billboard, and it says, Freedom Expo, putting all of our personal freedoms on display. And I said, I should go to that. What are they talking about? So I go, and I meet the Enigma. And he's the guy who's got a puzzle piece tattooed on his name, Paul. He's a really nice guy. And I want to talk, I want to hear, so why did you do all of that? And I meet him, Sarana, and they had a fashion show, and it was the Scores Girls and a lingerie show, and I see a dad, put his 5-year-old on his shoulder so he could see, and I'm like, that's not a good idea, but it was a great photo. Seriously. So I meet all these people, and they're doing all this art and corset piercings, and I'm talking so why would you do the corset and piercings down your back? Okay. So I'm talking with them, and I see somebody getting scarification. Just screw the tattoo, just go on and carve it in my body. And I'm like, hadn't seen that before. And I got a desk job. I'm like, that's something new. So then I start going to, so then my new thing now is I got the hip hop stuff, and I start going to basically tattoo festivals and body mod shows, which is fascinating because it's a room full of exhibitionists and a guy with a camera. Perfect. So I start going to these shows, and as you can tell, right, I'm the black guy with the camera and no tattoos. So you go for like 3 or 4 years to these things, and you start making friends there too. So now I start having friends like, on Facebook, like, hey, I'm looking for a tattoo, I'm in Philly, but I don't know who to go to. I'm like, I got you, like, I know those guys. So I start going to those, and then the following year, I go to another show, and it's Suspension by Crash. And I'm like, well, who's Crash? What do they play, right? And I'm like, oh, body suspension. So then I start shooting body suspension shows, and I start interviewing these folks on my website, and they're fascinating, like the nicest group of people. So anyway, so I started doing that. I started going to a lot of these shows and meeting a lot of people, and I'm explaining my Instagram feed. So if any of you are like curious what the hell is going on, it's just different subcultures. I go to Comic-Con, I shoot cosplay, and like things like adult trick-or-treating like all year round. Crazy, but fun photos. So last summer, I'm looking through the website for what's going on in Chicago, and there's a North American Championship for this thing taking place out in St. Charles. So I asked my wife, like, hey, we're gonna check this out. Gotta ask, because not everything I go to is grown folks. So I go out there, I shoot some photos, I meet a whole new community of people I hadn't met before. Photos are fantastic. Literally, I posted it in a week. I had about 500,000 photos viewed on my site, which was like crazy. So I went and they bought their pictures. Nobody else I shoot like buys the pictures. So I actually go to this thing and make money, and then they invite me back to other shows they're doing around the Midwest. And so this July, I'm going back out, this time with credentials to shoot for the show, and it is the North American Pole Dancing Championship.
Give it up for Keith!
Thanks for listening to this episode of My Home is Special. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get future episodes automatically. You can go to myhomeisspecial.com to see the full project and sign up for email updates. Be sure to follow KBevPhoto on Instagram or go to kbevphoto.com to see what I'm snapping these days. There's a lot on both to explore. For now, this is Keith, aka KBev, signing off. Peace.